Okay, let's just jump right in. Isn't it kind of weird? We have a million ways to talk to each other now, but somehow relationships feel, I don't know, more complicated than ever. Today, we're going to get into some of those super confusing, super frustrating behaviors that have just become, well, the new normal.
I mean, you've totally been there, right? You're texting back and forth, the vibe is good, everything's flowing, and then, poof, nothing. Just complete and total radio silence. It's this bizarre kind of modern mystery.
And yep, there it is, the word we all know and, let's be honest, probably all hate: ghosting. It's as simple as it sounds. 1 minute they're there, the next, they've just vanished into thin air. No warning, no explanation, nothing.
But here's the thing. Ghosting isn't just some random, isolated behavior. It's actually part of a much bigger pattern of what's called passive aggression. You know, it's that whole thing where people show they're upset or unhappy without ever actually saying they're upset or unhappy.
So that's what we're going to tackle in this explainer. We're going to break down these confusing behaviors, stuff like ghosting, breadcrumbing, we'll get to that one. We'll even dive into the psychology of why people do this stuff. And maybe the most important part, we'll talk about how you can respond and, get your sanity back.
So let's start by looking at this the right way. All this digital drama we're seeing today, it's really just a high-tech, 21st century version of a very old tactic, the silent treatment.
And that brings us right to the heart of the matter. Simply Psychology defines passive-aggressive behavior as indirect resistance and, this is the key part, an avoidance of direct confrontation. Basically, it's the art of showing you're mad without ever having to have an adult conversation about it.
All right, let's get into the nitty-gritty. It feels like you need a whole new dictionary just for modern relationships, doesn't it? So let's decode some of the biggest buzzwords out there right now.
First up, the big one, the one we all know, ghosting. Wikipedia officially calls it that sudden, unexplained end to all communication. It's that digital disappearing act that leaves you just staring at your phone thinking, wait, what on earth just happened?
And then you've got its really annoying cousin, breadcrumbing. Ooh, this one's fun. It's when someone drops you just tiny little crumbs of attention. A random like on an old photo, a you up text at midnight. Just enough to keep you emotionally invested, but with absolutely zero actual commitment. It's all about keeping you on the hook with the least amount of effort possible.
But, passive aggression can be way more subtle. It can hide in plain sight, kind of like this little gem of a backhanded compliment. I mean, at first glance, your hair looks so much better now. Sounds nice, doesn't it?
But is it? Not really. It's a subtle dig. I mean, think about it. By saying it looks better now, they're pretty much saying it looked bad before. It's a classic move, an insult dressed up as praise, designed to knock you down a peg without them having to look like the bad guy.
And this table just lays it all out so perfectly. This is the core issue with all passive-aggressive behavior. What they say and what they do are two totally different things. I'm fine, they say, while acting sullen and distant. I'll get to it, they promise, while clearly putting it off forever. It basically leaves you playing detective, trying to figure out what they actually mean.
Okay, so we've covered the what, but the real question is, why? Why do people act this way? Let's peel back the layers and get into the psychology that's driving all of this avoidance.
Well, according to research from Simply Psychology, it really boils down to a few main culprits, and number one with a bullet is a huge fear of direct confrontation. For a lot of people, just disappearing or making a snarky comment is way easier than having a real, maybe awkward conversation. It can also be a habit they picked up growing up, or sometimes it's even about wanting to feel in control of a situation.
So how do people live with themselves after doing this stuff? Well, there's this fascinating mental trick called cognitive dissonance. See, nobody wants to think of themselves as a jerk. So when they do something, well, jerky, like ghosting someone, it creates this really uncomfortable tension in their mind. And to make that feeling go away, they don't apologize or change. Nope, they rationalize. They invent a new story, telling themselves things like, oh, they were just too intense anyway, to make their actions feel completely justified.
So we've talked a lot about the person doing the ghosting or the breadcrumbing. But let's flip the script for a minute. What about the person on the receiving end? Because the emotional impact of this is, well, it's huge.
A huge reason why these behaviors hurt so much comes down to a really powerful psychological hook called intermittent reinforcement. This is the engine that makes breadcrumbing work. When you get a reward, like a text message, but it's completely unpredictable, your brain gets hooked. You're always hoping for that next little hit. It's literally the same principle that makes slot machines so addictive.
And this quote from a Reddit user who's been through it just captures that feeling perfectly. It's not just a little disappointing, it's a mind-bending experience. That's the real-world result of that clinical-sounding term. It's an absolutely exhausting emotional roller coaster.
And what it leaves you with is this whole cocktail of awful feelings. You're confused, you're frustrated, you start doubting yourself, thinking, wait, was it something I did? And over time, that constant cycle of hope and disappointment just leads to complete and total emotional exhaustion.
Okay, so we know this behavior is confusing and it's hurtful. But, and this is a really big but, you are not powerless here. So this last part is all about actionable steps you can take to reclaim your control and protect your peace of mind.
So, what's the game plan? First, you got to recognize the pattern for what it is. Stop making excuses for it. Second, try to communicate directly. Use I feel statements instead of accusations. Third, you have to set firm boundaries. Decide what you will and will not accept. And finally, if nothing changes, the most powerful thing you can do is limit contact to protect yourself.
And I just love this quote. It says it all. This is a powerful reminder that you get to decide the terms of your relationships. It's not about trying to control them. It's about taking back control for yourself.
So I'll leave you with this final thought. All these behaviors, ghosting, breadcrumbing, the whole shebang, they thrive in ambiguity and fear. The antidote, then, isn't some new complicated set of rules. It's actually a commitment to something much older and, frankly, much harder, just communicating with more courage and more clarity. So the question is, what would that look like for you?